Good afternoon, everyone. I am Angel REYES together with my colleague
John Russell Rodriguez and
is here to discuss about Cubism
Cubism Art
art
Movement.
movement.
Cubism is not a reality you can take in your hand. It's more like a perfume. In front of you, behind you, to the sides. The scent is everywhere, but you don't quite know where it comes from. A quote from Picasso.
What exactly is Cubism? Cubism is one of the art styles that aims to reflect all the perspectives of a person or thing at once. It is an artistic movement created by Pablo Picasso and George Braque. What are the characteristics of Cubism? Cubism is an art style that uses geometrical shapes, specifically cubes.
Let us now look to classes or types of cubism. There are two types of cubism. These are the analytical cubism and the synthetic cubism. What is the difference between the two? Analytical cubism is when artists analyze pictures and read them in different blocks. They look at the blocks from different angles and be given a subject, while the synthetic cubism introduces the idea of adding other materials to the collage. This stage introduced brighter colors and a lighter state of art.
Here are the examples of synthetic and analytical cubism. Pablo Picasso's three musicians are one of the examples of synthetic cubism. Also in this art are flat shades, bright colors, and abstract shades, while George Braque's violin and candlestick is a type of analytical cubism.
Summary of Cubism. Cubism developed in the aftermath of Pablo Picasso's shocking 1907 Les Demoiselles de Vignon, in a period of rapid experimentation between Pablo Picasso and George Braque. Drawing upon Paul Cézanne's emphasis on the underlying architecture of form, these artists use multiple vantage points to fracture images into geometric forms rather than modeled forms. In an illusionistic space, figures were depicted as dynamic arrangement of volumes and planes where background and foreground merge.
The movement was one of the most groundbreaking of the early 20th century, as it challenged Renaissance depictions of space, leading almost directly to experiments with non-representation by many different artists. Artists working in the Cubist style went on to incorporate elements of collage and popular culture into their paintings and to experiment with the sculpture.
Key ideas and accomplishments. The artist abandoned perspective, which had been used to depict space since the Renaissance, and they also turned away from the realistic modeling of figures. Cubists explored open form, piercing figures and objects by letting the space flow through them, blending background into foreground, and shadowing objects from various angles. Some historians have argued that these innovations represent a response to the changing experience of space, movement, and time in the modern world. This first phase of the movement was called analytic cubism.
In the second phase of Cubism, synthetic Cubism, practitioners explored the use of non-art materials as abstract signs. Their use of newspaper would lead later historians to argue that instead of being concerned above all with form, the artists were also acutely aware of current events, particularly World War I. Cubism paved the way for non-representational art by putting new emphasis on the unity between a depicted scene and the surface of the canvas. These experiments would be taken up by the likes of Piet Mondrian, who continued to explore their use of the great abstract system of time and shallow space. Key
Key
artists of Cubism art movement.
Pablo Picasso, Spanish draftsman, painter, printmaker, and sculptor, born on October 25, 1881, and died on April 8, 1973. Movement and style, symbolism, cubism, surrealism. Summary of Pablo Picasso. Pablo Picasso was the most dominant and influential artist of the first half of the 20th century, associated most of all with pioneering Cubism, alongside with George Braque. He also invented collage and made major contribution to symbolism and surrealism.
George Braque, a French painter, collagist, draftsman, printmaker, and sculptor, born on May 13, 1882, died on August 31, 1963. Movement and styles, Cubism, Cubism, Analytic, Cubism, Synthetic Cubism. Summary of George Braque. George Braque was at the forefront of the revolutionary art movement of Cubism. Braque's work throughout his life focused on still lifes and means of viewing objects from various perspectives through color, line, and textures.
Fernand Leyer, French painter, born on February 4, 1881, died on August 17, 1955. Movement and styles, Cubism, Purism, Interwar Classicism. Summary of Fernand Leyer. Though Ferdinand Ledger built his reputation as cubist, his style varied considerably from decade to decade, fluctuating between figuration and abstraction, and showing influence from a wide range of sources.
Juan Gris, a Spanish painter, illustrator, and sculptor. Born on March 23, 1887, died on May 11, 1927. Movement and styles, Cubism, Purism. Summary of Juan Gris. One of Gertrude Stein's favorite artists and the only cubist talented enough to make Picasso uncomfortable, Juan Gris built upon the foundations of early cubism and steered the movement in new directions.
Robert Delaunay, French painter, born on April 12, 1885 and died on October 25, 1941. Movements and styles, Cubism, Salon Cubism, and Orpism. Summary of Robert Delaunay. Robert Delaunay's colorful and formally experimental paintings were a unique fusion of early 20th century European artistic trends. His best known work centered on the visually and intellectually stimulating world of Belle Epoque Paris, in which he and his wife Sonia Delaunay founded the Orpism movement.
Sonia Delaunay, Ukrainian-born French painter, textile designer, fashion and costume designer. Born on November 14, 1885, died on December 5, 1979. Movements and style, Cubism, Salon Cubism, or PCM. Summary of Sonia Delaunay. Sonia Delaunay's career spanned the European continent, allowing her to reap the riches of the exciting advances by many avant-garde art groups. Sonia was one of the primary propagators of Orphism, a movement founded by her husband, Robert.
Jacques Lipchitz, Lithuanian-American sculptor, born on August 22, 1891, died on May 16, 1973. Movements and styles, Cubism and Purism. Summary of Jacques Lipchitz. When we think of Cubist sculpture, the works of Lipchitz emerge as exemplars of the style translated into three dimensions. He left behind a less abstract style and in a major career-changing transformation, began producing larger scale sculpture in bronze. Lipchitz may be regarded as one of the foremost contributors to the Cubist style and to modern sculpture.
Jean Metzinger, a French painter, writer, theorist, poet. Born on June 24, 1883, died on November 3, 1956. Movements and styles, Cubism, Salon Cubism, Cubism, Neo-Impressionism, Post-Impressionism. Summary of Jean. One of the leading lights of the Cubist movement, Metzinger standing in the development of the avant-garde, rests both on the excellence of his paintings and his theoretical writing. With Albert Clay co-wrote the First and most significant theatrics on Cubism through Cubism.
Artworks and artists of Cubism.
Progressions of art. 1907, Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, artist Pablo Picasso. The title of the painting refers to a street in Barcelona, Carrer d'Avignon, which was known for its many brothels. The five figures, the women of Avignon, depict prostitutes of this red light district in Barcelona, boldly staring back at the viewer from the painting. It is an all-on canvas.
1908, Houses at Lestake. Artist George Brake. Oil on canvas.
1909, violin and ballet artist George Braque, oil on canvas.
1911, Tea Time. Artist John Metzinger. Oil on cardboard.
1913, Conquest of the Air, artist Robert de la Fresnay, oil on canvas.
1914, Electric Prisms. Artist Sonia Delaunay. Oil on canvas.
1915, Still Life with Open Window, Rura Vignan, artist Juan Gris, oil on canvas.
1921, Three Women. Artist Fernand Ledger. Oil on canvas.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
you, sir.